Joe, introduce yourself. Yes, you. Well, it used to be a dentist, sort of.
Retired dentist, Bobby Devin, and co-chair of the No on 3 committee, central committee member, precinct captain. That's about all.
And I want to introduce Jacqueline that's helping out. We have a new program called Red Move Ambassadors, and she's one of them. Jacqueline Marcel, put your hand up. And Gary Butcher is a Red Move Ambassador. Where's Jan? Where's Jan? In the restroom? Hello? Where's Jan? Oh, Jan Hermanson. She's also helping on the desk and a Red Move Ambassador. With that in mind, we're running a little late. I hope you guys all liked it, that everybody got to say a little piece about themselves. And can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. We are going to use a podcast type of format. Bill will do about 10 minutes with each assembly person to introduce them, and I'll ask the last question. Then we'll open it up where you can ask some questions.
I don't know why that one's not working.
Take it away, Bill.
One of these mics isn't working. So folks, it's Ray, talk for a second. I'm just doing, we're okay. We can just use these. So folks, Bill Conrad, it's January, and a little bit about myself. I retired from the military. I left Afghanistan December 7th, 2012. And I made Reno my home of record in 2010, brought my family here. But I met Ray, and he said, Ray, what can you do? I bought a laptop, Apple laptop, when I got back from Afghanistan for a gift, and I retired. I said, Ray, what can I do? So I learned how to actually podcast over 10 years ago. And I experimented with phones and some other things. And I've got about 360, 380 episodes. I've been invited to the National Broadcasters Association. It's made a lot of contacts. And then we started doing some professional level work, and we did, of course, the governor's debate, which came out really well. And if you look, there's a lot of really good interviews, but the cost of that is very expensive. When you're at the Atlantis and we're doing professional work with the screens, I bring in another person for a videographer, it's about $300. So the evolution is I've always wanted to try to do a podcast here of one of our assembly members or state senators each month so we could all talk. And that's what we're going to do. It's only going to be very short. I'm just going to ask a couple quick questions. Ray's going to ask a question, then we'll open up to them. And we'll open it up to you to come around and actually go over here where Ray is and ask them any question you want to ask them within reason. So Rich DeLong, Rich, I'm going to ask you about your background, but he's Assemblyman. He was Minority Leader. Not sure what happened, but I guess I could ask that question, how that works. But first of all, I want to ask you about your background. Where'd you grow up and where'd you go to school, high school?
Okay. Bill, thank you. So I was born in LA. I'm a sixth generation Californian. My family came 1849 to mine gold. And there's a tie to that I'll get to in a second. So grade school in Palm Springs, junior high and high school in a suburb of Chicago. And then came back west and went to college in California and Idaho. Moved to Reno first time in 1980 as a geologist to look for and find gold deposits.
I was going to ask you, what did you get your degree in?
Geology and resource management.
So why did you choose that field?
Back when I was a business major and I needed to get another hard science, I thought geology sounds interesting, and I took the class and I loved it. And I was I got A's in it. It was easy, and I just went from there, and it's been a great career.
What's your favorite rock?
Gold.
Is that a mineral or a rock? Was it?
Yes,
Okay.
all minerals are rocks, but
Okay. I learned something.
very few rocks are minerals.
So-
So I like silver too. So an interesting thing about the Comstock, which made Nevada the silver state, today, if the Comstock was mined, it would be called a gold mine because of the economics. Gold is so much more valuable nowadays relative to silver. The economics would have been driven by the gold price. But back in the 1860s, the price was much closer between gold and silver, and therefore it was a silver mine.
So, Rich, going on in your career as a young geologist working. What were your biggest challenges working in the state of Nevada?
Schedule. As a geologist, you're working in the field, usually by yourself, sometimes with a drilling crew. You're away from home a long time, and that is challenging. And so I did that for a number of years, and then got out of that and formed my own company to help exploration and mining companies get their state and federal permits, which is a much more at-home job.
Oh, that's true. Now tell us a little bit about your family.
So I have 4 daughters. 3 of them are older. They've all graduated and have careers. One's a mechanical engineer for Boeing on the military side. Other's an IT specialist. Third one is a rowing coach. And my youngest, and she's my daughter by marriage, she is in high school still.
Very nice. So one of them still in Nevada for sure. How about the
Correct.
others?
So the others are all over the world. One's in New Zealand. Today she's in Italy. Next week she moves to Germany. And then the other one's in Washington State.
Married? Someone?
2 of them are married and 2 of them aren't.
Very good. Do they ever want to come back here?
I don't think they will. I think their careers are taking them in a direction that I don't think Nevada is in their cards, except for maybe Patty, my youngest. She's still in high school. We'll see where she.
What high school is she in?
She's at Sage Ridge.
Sage Ridge. Okay, very good. What do you think of Reno's high schools?
In general, good. All of Nevada's schools have challenges. And I'm hoping this governor is, I think, doing a good job in trying to correct some of that, but it's the school systems in Nevada do have challenges. There are great schools. I will say in general that in the state, Clark County does drag the entire state down as far as
Right. Ty
high school
Cobb,
performance.
I knew Ty Cobb before I got here, and he always spoke about Reno High School being such a great place.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And both my daughters went to Reno. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was, but Reno was a good experience. So going on, as you start your business and you're getting out, what made you think about politics? What's your background in politics?
So Nevada has been just an amazing place for my career and my family. And I come from a family that has been in politics, has given back. Some of my relatives were a judge, LA County District Attorney, LA County County Clerk. So it's kind of in the family. I first kind of got involved. I served on the state's Minerals Commission, which is a governor-appointed commission. I did that for 16 years, helping to provide some policy direction to the governor and the legislature.
Okay.
And then I did that. I thought 4 terms was enough on that. I chose not to run again. And then where I live, the representative or the assemblywoman that had that seat chose to run for Senate, so it was an open seat. And I thought, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And I did last cycle, and I won.
So my last question, and Ray's going to ask a question when we're all done at the end. But my last question, what do you like best and what do you like worst about politics?
What I like worst about politics is in Carson City, in the legislature, I was and still am astonished at the number of children in the building. And I don't mean chronologically. What I like best is there are good people and good things do get done. There's a lot of BS that happens, but there are good things that do happen.
So you can make a difference. What's the big I lied. One last question. What's the biggest difference you made so far?
Last session, I was able to get 2 bills passed through a Democrat-controlled legislature that reduced the regulatory burden on businesses and individuals.
Very good. All about republicanism. PK, your turn. Okay. Just stay on this line. So PK, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school?
Well,
In family, what's your background?
I grew up all over. Is the easiest way to put it. My dad was in the State Department, which brings into where did I go to high school, I assume. I went to Georgetown Prep outside of DC, which probably most of us know now as bringing forward 2 U.S. Supreme Court justices. Several years behind me, may I say. They were several years. So I was born and brought up somewhat in the DC sphere, but lived over multiple areas in the country.
When you're in DC, you're in high school, it sounds like. Where'd you live in DC?
We didn't. I lived at school. It was a boarding school.
Oh, you were boarding school?
Yes.
Okay.
I often say I was brought up with 300 other young males all vying for the same young lady.
Because your dad's State Department, he was around the world?
Yes.
Where was your dad stationed? Where are the top places?
Mainly in Middle East, Turkey, Vietnam, before it was Vietnam, and that area was his specialties.
When you were young, did you go overseas with him?
No, his assignments were such that we were not allowed to go.
Yeah, being in the State Department is definitely in the combat zones and tough areas is tough. It takes a strong family. So when you got out of high school, where'd you go to college?
Another good question. As I often joke, it only took me 15 years to get through college. I started out at Loyola University in New Orleans, and as many of us did back in the very early 70s, said that we probably knew more than what they were teaching us. So we went out, I got a job. I worked actually in a funeral home, went to community college. My dad was a little upset about me dropping out of school. I thought I was going to end up in the Navy, but they were reducing in forces. You remember Vietnam was coming to a close, and I'd been in school on ROTC, Reserve Officer Training, and taking that. And if you left, you had to do enlisted time. So I thought when I dropped, I'd just go do my enlisted time. The Vietnam War was closing down, so they were rifting us out. So they said, you've got a year and a half of college education for free. Go enjoy yourself, young man. So I went to work for a funeral home, and did that for a couple of years. Then went into law enforcement for the City of Miami Police Department in Miami, Florida. They had some issues, to put it mildly, on ethics. And so we were leaving in droves. When I came on with the city in 72, my badge was 954, which meant there were 953 behind me. When I left in February of 1980 to come here to Nevada, we had to go through a checkout process, a lot like the military. And the last person that spoke to you was the recruitment and retention officer, or sergeant. And out of several questions, one of the things he said, PK, can you really leave us? There will only be 503 left here with the City of Miami officers. And I said, that's why we're leaving. We were taking calls 3-4 at a time. I actually was assigned on several occasions in motors to go by robbery in progress and advise if you need backup. So it was challenging. We had a lot of unfortunate issues popping up that weren't proper. So I came out here to Nevada, worked for the State Division of Investigation, did a couple years in covert narcotics, then went into violent crimes investigations across the state, supervised a federal task force on Indian crimes, got promoted, unfortunately, as I say, up to division chief, then chief, and then retired in late November of 2009.
So when you came out here, did you have to go to post?
No, we had 6 months back then. The state did not require, if you were a certified officer and past background and had so many years of acceptance, you wouldn't have to. Now I would have had to have taken at least a 2-week class. But our academy at the city was 6 months, which at that time was,
A lot back then.
yeah, it was almost unheard of. Now it's more the norm.
Right. Now it's 4 to 5 months, 6 months, depending where you are.
Yeah.
So post is where you go to become a sworn law enforcement officer. And sometimes they reciprocate, which apparently they did back then.
Yeah.
So very good. So you're a motor in Las Vegas. I got to ask you about that. What was
No.
You were more on motorcycle.
Yeah, in the city of Miami.
Excuse me. I didn't seem like Las Vegas, but in Miami. So how long did you do that? That's a really dangerous job, by the way.
No, it's not. It was a kick.
They love it. They get the young people to do it. So
Just over a year.
yeah, you get to ride a motorcycle. They love it, but it's still tough.
We were all riding Harleys with suicide shifters.
Yes. So my hat's off. So coming forward, what did you like best about your work here in Nevada before you got into politics, and what brought you into politics?
What I enjoyed was a couple things. Naturally, the attitude here in Nevada from what we were suffering back in Miami. And to make it quick, in uniform, when I was in uniform, we would actually get ounces of heroin and have trouble with prosecutions. It finally became the state's attorney, Janet Reno, unfortunately, became her policy that to get a a felony charge, you had to have 100 pounds of marijuana. You had to have over a kilo, 2.2 pounds of cocaine, and you had to have at least an ounce or more of heroin for a felony charge of an individual. When I came out here to Nevada, right off, since I went straight into narcotics, one of the first things I had to learn was whatever you report it as is what it was considered. I remember my first week, some guy was trying to sell me some suppositories as heroin. And I told him, get away from me. And my partner says, no, go ahead and buy it. Take it. I said, it's no charge. Back in Miami, that wasn't been a charge. He says, no, out here, if they report it to be heroin, it's heroin. If they have any discernible amount of marijuana on them, it's a felony charge for marijuana. My first month out here, my telephone bill back to the guys in Miami, you wouldn't believe this.
What year did you leave Miami again?
I left in 1980. I started here March 17th of 1980.
80,
thought it was
okay.
good for an Irishman to start on St. Patrick's Day.
Very good. Very good. That's in the 80s. Right after that, the crime in Florida was huge with the cartels, the drugs, the Bahamas. They busted the big guy out in the island. I forgot his name.
Yeah, we actually, when I was still there, we were already having those issues. Our police station was bombed actually upstairs, and detectives got bombed.
Right.
One night we had 5 bombs, which was sad, but it was great overtime pay.
No, it was rough. That was the Wild West, and that's probably in late 70s and early 80s,
Early
the worst
80s.
time ever.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do now is first of all, going into politics, you didn't tell us why you got into politics, and then what do you like best and worst about it?
Well, the people, that's what I like, at least some of them. When I got promoted into division chief and then chief, I had to testify before the legislature. And so I got to know several of them. John Hambrook, may his soul rest in peace, Richard MacArthur, several of them. And they always said, you ought to think about running when you retire. And I said, no, I'll run away. And Pete Livermore, who was a friend of mine, my legislator, assemblyman, when he announced I think it was late November, early December, as I recall, that he would not run again. A couple of them got hold of me, and we had various meetings, and they finally came to me in February and asked me, late February, and asked me to run. And I did. It was 2014. I was fortunate to get elected, served in 2015. worked with the governor. I was a freshman as the governor was asking, our Republican governor was asking for things. I voted for, ran in 2016, lost. As I always say, you probably learn more from losing than you do from winning, because it defines some of your weaknesses and where improvement's necessary. And a friend of mine actually beat me, Al Kramer. Al had some family medical issues that he had to address. So in 20, he came to me and asked me to return and run back for the seat. And once again, we had some, as I often say, some strong Caesar salads. I came back in 20 and won. I was there in 21. I'm serving my 4th term
Very good.
right now.
So we're going to, Ray's going to ask a question, and then if you could, come over to this microphone.
Take my place here.
Ray, go ahead and set that up. And we're going to go into the next section. He's going to ask you a specific question.
And the question is, we can start with Rich. What you both can answer. What do you see? How are we going to control it? And what do you see happening in the legislature? Don't laugh, Patty.
Oh, let's see. My crystal ball says, has anybody ever been a weatherman in Nevada? During the summer, it's really easy. I can tell you right now what the weather's going to be like on July 5th, 2025. It's going to be sunny, and it's going to be hot, and it's going to be dry. Wintertime for the weatherman. I have no friggin' idea what it's going to be. I'll tell you it's going to snow, and tomorrow you'll wake up to sunshine. If I tell you it's sunshine, tomorrow you're digging out of 5 feet of snow. And that's a lot of what I'm going to tell you about the legislature. It's tough to predict, but I am going to say this. We will have over 1,000 bills introduced.
Which is crazy.
Yes, it is crazy. By the time the legislature really kicks off, the majority of both houses are controlled by the Democrats. However, what will make this session as last session better, particularly this session will be better, we will have a Republican governor that has shown that he is not scared to use his veto pen. And that will make all the difference. And I'm positive that a good majority of you saw the State of the State the other day, and he brought forth very reasonable, to me and to the majority, I believe, of Nevadans, he was elected statewide. All those Democrats, whether in the Senate or in the Assembly, were elected in their district. The governor was voted statewide. So they better listen to him. He presented very reasonable plan for Nevada on education, on business diversity, on bringing people in, and safety in your communities, your neighborhoods, your towns, and making Nevada to continue and improving on Nevada as a place to do business, live, and raise your family in an educated environment. And that's where we're going to work together. The Democrats will either learn the easy way or the hard way on that, is what I predict. And we're going to address several issues, including election. He wasn't able to bring anything forward, but even our Secretary of State, who is a Democrat, has acknowledged that there were issues with the last election that need to be corrected. So I think it's going to be an exciting legislature. And at the end in June, we will be bloodied, but not dead. We will, the governor, we will be forecasting a bigger and better Nevada. And that's the generalized statements. And if Rich wants to get direct on it.
I'll dive into some of that. Are you interrupting?
No, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I get, Bill asked me one comment, asked me about what my thoughts are. One of the things I can't believe about the legislature is that Every 2 years, we have over 1,000 problems we have to fix. I just can't believe that. There are too many bills. It's ridiculous. Every session, a Republican puts in a bill to reduce the number of bills everyone can submit. And surprisingly, the only file it finds is the circular file, which whoever is in charge of legislative operations and elections, they get that bill, the chair gets the bill, and they file it in the circular file. It doesn't get a hearing. So I basically agree with PK. It's going to be a tough slog. I think the governor definitely woke up the Democrats last session in the session, the education money bill has to be the first money bill passed. And the Democrats got that through with Democrat support. And the governor vetoed it. And that woke up the Democrat legislature. Oh, I guess we should talk to him. Maybe we need to. And so at the very tail end of the session, it really was late in the session, discussions actually finally happened, and there was some, I'll use the term bipartisanship, compromise on bills. Some good stuff that he wanted got through, and in the compromise, some stuff that I would say that both PK and I didn't like definitely did get through. But that's part of the horse trading that goes on in this type of political system that we're in. We are not in a dictatorship. So this session, I think, will be similar. I believe that the Democrats will come to the table sooner rather than when they did last session, because they realize the governor will veto. And the other tool that we have in the legislature this time that we didn't have last time is both houses, the Republicans have the ability to stop a veto override, as well as being able to stop increases in taxes. So we can leverage either house to hold that line, which is more tools than we had last session. Last session, only the Senate was in a position to be able to stop an override attempt or stop taxes. So I think we have a few more tools in our tool belt as Republicans to deal with the Democrat-controlled legislature.
I'm going to now have the audience ask questions. Sorry we're running a little late, but it's a good meeting. Go ahead.
So you mentioned that there are 1,000 bills that have already been submitted, and I have 5 that I would like to get done. Is it too late? And if not, what is that process? And they're actually things that will be really good for the state, and I need them if I'm going to bring all these businesses here. They're, some of the Wyoming blockchain laws, some of the Florida Bar Association laws, things that very simple, 1 page. Should be easy, no-brainers.
Yeah, there is.
Let me at them. It'll be simple. I lobbied in Wyoming. That's how we got those things done.
So at this point, each assembly member, whether assemblyman or assemblywoman, they have 1 bill left that they can file by February 10th. And I think each senator has 2. In the future, whether you're able to find a legislator that's interested in your topic and still has a bill available, that's probably questionable. But in the future, realize there are 3 important dates to try and get a legislator to file a bill. It's August 10th is the first tranche of bills is due. And then December 10th is the next tranche. So for an assembly member, there's 4 in August, 5 in December, and then 1 in February. And so that's the window of time to try and get something filed. You need to be working with them before that. See if it's something that fits where they're going, but
And
that's
then
a long answer to a short question.
No, actually, it's very effective. And then because I'm from California, where we over-legislate everything, this idea that we have a legislator that meets, briefly every 2 years, does that mean that at the end of this term, which I think you said was in April, that I'm basically SOL until when?
So
For my benefit and for
You're not-
everybody watching as well.
As Rich was saying, there's still a bill deadline. but most of us have already agreed or committed to carrying the bill and are working on the final versions and the submission. When you say your SOL, you can also look for bills that, as they come out, to see if they're germane to your issue and see if the legislator that is sponsoring the bill will allow you to amend it.
And add a paragraph.
And paragraphs, whatever it may be. As time moves forward, as you just said, we're in there for 120 days. We say we start the first Monday of February. 120 days later is Sunny Die, which this year will be June 2nd, I think it is. But we've already started. Actually, I'll be down in Las Vegas next week, back in Carson the following week on the money committees. We'll start meeting next week. I've already had meetings with lobbyists, legislators, and others on the money, going over the governor's presented budget. So you're not SOL, as you said, but it's gonna be a hard road for you.
And what can we, the people, do to support the bills that you currently have? And how do we figure out what those are and what we can do?
I've given the Story County Republican, the Carson Republican Club, a bill tracking device. But we have free for you individually. You can get a free one. It's limited to, I think it's 10 bills that you can track. But as one dies out or drops off, you can add a bill into it. So it's a rolling 10. You're not locked in. But stay active with your legislator. I was going to, and it would be a bad thing to put you all on the spot. I'd ask every one of you, what assembly district do you live in, and who's your representative, both Senate and Assembly? It's amazing. And I don't want to put anybody on the spot with that, but I will tell you the God's honest truth. It's amazing how many people, even say when they're active, don't know. They know an assembly person or a senator that they work with a lot, but they may not know actually what district they live in. And it takes 2 assembly districts to make up 1 Senate district. So Rich and I are housed under 16. Senate 16, which is Lisa Krasner.
How does that work? Oh, thank you.
So that's one thing. And you can go on the legislative website and track bills, find out who you are, where you're living, et cetera. So it's just stay active. All our phone numbers are there, rooms, emails, et cetera. So just stay active is the big thing. And we enjoy it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, both of you, for coming. This is pretty much addressed toward Assemblyman DeLong. First of all, thank you for your newsletter that you're sending out to constituents. That's very, very informative, very helpful. Could you talk a little more about the bill you're planning to introduce about limiting the amount of time that votes can be counted?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. On the newsletter, last session, I think starting in week 4, I did a weekly newsletter. What was going on each week, and sent that out to the group. This session, I'm planning on starting on the first week. I have a bill, and I'm working with a couple of other assembly members, Assemblyman Gray and Assemblywoman Cole, as well as Senator Steinbeck down in Las Vegas, on submitting a bill that says all votes have to be received, like in the case of Washoe County, by the register of voters by the close of the polls. So that when the polls close, we know as a community, whether it's the state or the county, we know how many votes are in. We know what the pool of votes are, so as things get counted, we know where the endpoint is. Because right now, we don't know where the endpoint is. They send out ballots and ballots and ballots, and they don't all come in, but they're all potentially out there. And so until that deadline, at 4 days after the close of polls, drops, you don't know what your total pool is. So in close races, you can't call a race. because you don't know how many votes there are going to be.
Thank you, yeah. Comments, please?
I was going to say, the governor has also had a bill, will have a bill. And as he said Wednesday night,
Closer to the mic.
if it does not get a hearing, he'll go to the people, to you, to once again do a petition and make it a people's decision to go and have it in the Constitution. So it is a strong emphasis point for the Republican Party. We're going to get something done.
Well, you can count on the Republican women's clubs to help you push that through. We definitely will.
And we know that.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Linda Park, and I was on the school board in Nevada, in California. And in fact, I resigned to come here. In fact, we were married here in 1965, so I have a long history with the state of Nevada. My question is preceded by a well-documented, factually correct statement, and that is that Nevada schools rank 49th and 50th. It is so disheartening to me. And I wonder if there is any motivation, any incentive to change the status quo, because Nevada's schools are abysmal.
I'll try and touch on the high points.
Thank
You're
you.
correct. We rank very poorly. I think an interesting fact about that ranking, if you take Clark County out, the rest of the state is around 25th,
Okay.
which is good, but it's also very, very bad in that means Clark County schools are atrociously abysmal. And that affects the state. That's most of the students are down there. Clark County is the 4th largest school district in the nation. It's a lot of kids go through that and they don't perform well. There are some things that have been done. Last session, the governor and the Republicans committed to, with the Democrats, to $2 billion more in the budget for education. But what came with that is some degree of accountability, and that's what's been missing, is both financial accountability and performance accountability. And we're working towards improving that. The governor's budget and his bills take that into account on focusing on Title I and Title II schools and trying to increase their performance, including looking at having bonuses for teachers that will teach in those schools to try and bring up the performance of those schools. He's also trying to increase school choice options, which will include open enrollment. In other words, you don't have to go to the school based on your zip code, and transportation options to help facilitate that. So there are some things happening. It is a slow, hard process. The teachers' unions definitely fight all these changes at every turn. I don't know, PK, if you want to add anything to that.
I can add. In 2015, we actually passed a bill to break up somewhat the Clark County School District into smaller areas. Parents, I've got to be honest, I get to the root of the issue is parent involvement. And that's what we're trying to provide is opportunities for parents to get involved, to be part of their child's education, which they should be, I believe. But in 15, we were going to set up these smaller precincts, they were going to call them, local schools and local school boards that then would report up to the Clark County School District. We got it passed. It started the process. And then when we got a full Democrat governor, Senate, and Assembly, it died.
Yeah.
So that hurt and set us all back, just as some of the money that was going for the schools, where they were going to have to specify where it was, what was it being used for, the accountability of it, the auditing of it. It was going to be a grant, basically. That all died off and just went into the pot, as I call it, of just free-for-all money for the school boards. In 2009, the legislature gave, I apologize, I keep thinking it's a couple $1 million, just let me say that, to Clark County for K through 12 or K through 3 class size reduction. When the 15 legislature was in process, Clark County asked for more money for K through 3 classroom size reduction. They were asked, so what did you do with the money we gave you previously? In summary, their answer was, we have no idea, but it did something and it must have been good because we wouldn't have done anything bad. But give us more money now. Trust us. We work for the government. And that's what brought about the start of a lot of the accountability and auditing. I actually sit on a board now that was formed in the last legislature that does review the financials of the school districts across the state. The governor can actually go in now and do audits of individual school districts in schools themselves too. So we're looking more specifically at the operation of schools across the board, across the state, not just, but as Rich so eloquently said, Clark County is the issue, unfortunately, just by their size alone, by the size, the population, their variety of ethnic groups there. I learned in 2015 that I forget, it was a second or fourth, one of the lower grade schools in Clark County had some 10 different languages being spoken in that class. And it was part of that English as a second language class. It wasn't just Spanish. There were several dialects of Chinese, African languages that were all represented in that one class that they were trying to teach them. So the challenge is big, yeah.
I have a question for both of you.
And the answer is no. You're like one of my kids. See, he stopped.
Yeah.
I remember. When are you gonna get Vinny and Winnie to go out and explain to the Democrats how they're gonna vote? You don't have to answer.
I don't believe that was a real question since you didn't have the mic.
Come on, Drew.
I just wanted to mention that I understand that it's a complex problem, but we're losing a generation of children. And by golly, somebody needs to pay attention.
I just got to say, we have lost several generations, and when you throw in that part of COVID and that delivery of education at that time, we really nosedived down.
Yep.
So you are right when you say we're losing generations.
Drew?
Hi there, everybody. Drew Rebar. I became active in politics because of ad hoc taxes and ad hoc regulations. We need to protect the governor's office, keep it in conservative hands. My question is, when Governor Lombardo was sheriff, he signed a contract with a company called Atura that's owned by a multi-billionaire out of state. And this created an administrative fee of $25 in every vehicle that's towed in the state of Nevada by law enforcement, thereby raising all of our insurance rates. This was done in an ad hoc manner through the Nevada Transportation Authority without any legislative approval. Do you guys think that this is the right way to do taxes? And how do we protect the governor? How do we protect the seat? And how do we get rid of all these ad hoc regulations, ad hoc rules that have been created over the years by our state agencies?
If I'm not mistaken, you have a lawsuit on that we should not.
No, there is no lawsuit.
I think that, well, you have had lawsuits on it, correct?
There was a lawsuit and they said that I didn't have a right to talk about it, but shouldn't the legislature with a 2/3 majority that the Constitution requires have to pass these taxes, or should a sheriff be able to sign a contract with a private company that costs everybody in the state of Nevada money?
You're right that it does take 2/3. That's been proven, argued in court. Last time when the Democrats tried to pass the sunset taxes, Republicans went to court on it and they won because a sunset tax does end. And you're right, it does take 2/3. As to what Clark County did specifically, I can't comment on.
Well, it's now through the Nevada Highway Patrol and DPS. So no comment. You guys don't care about the taxes.
Before I lose all of you, I want to remind you, February the 20th at the Atlantis, we're having dinner. It's going to be a great meeting. Lieutenant Governor is speaking, and the task force he put together on women in sports. It's going to be doors open at 5:30 up in the Emerald Room, right across from the Bistro Bar and Grill. And you can buy me my Irish coffee there. Tony?
Thank you, Ray. First of all, thank you both for serving. And it's great that we have great representation. Ira Hansen came to the Reno Republican Women last week, and he explained to us that we had an 87% turnout. And 87% turnout in this last election. So my question to both of you is that the Democrats didn't have as great of a turnout as we had, but yet we lost many races. So we know that our districts have been gerrymandered. And from what Senator Hansen told us is that the districts were drawn out of state. Now, if I understand it, Nevada statute requires that the districts be drawn in state by the majority party. My question is there something that we can do in terms of suing, and I don't know who we sue, but suing, because I think we have enough data to show, if we look at the last probably 3 elections, that though we're having greater turnouts of Republicans, those results are not reflected in the elected officials. I'd like to hear both of your comments on that.
Go ahead. Each of you answer.
I'll start.
I agree with you. I mean, even if you just look at registration, we're roughly 50-50 Republican, Democrat. Obviously, there's quite a bit of independents also, but then you look at the legislature, it's 2/3, 1/3. The districts don't reflect the population. And you use the correct term with regards to characterizing how those lines were drawn. I have to admit, I don't know about whether a lawsuit can be done or not. It's just outside my skill set, but maybe PK can speak to it.
We actually did file, the Republicans, we did file a lawsuit on gerrymandering. Excuse me. The courts don't like to get involved in politics, and really did not support it. So we did try. And also there really was we did not have concrete evidence, because we asked continually during presentations, who wrote these districts? Who wrote up the redistricting? And the Democrats were very smart. They actually had the LCB staff present it, who are neutral. And they said that they weren't allowed to, couldn't say because they hadn't been told. And no Democrat, we could not force a Democrat to get up in leadership to testify one way or the other. So they were able to really protect themselves well on this.
That's why I said you need Vinnie and Gwynnie to explain to them.
But we knew that it was coming out of DC, as so many of their bills did during last session were directly out of the national Democrat headquarters. And actually, Rich was he had the best example of some redistricting, several of them, but his district was a strong Republican district. It still is, but they cut part of the Republican out just to lessen his influence and put the Republican, that part over in another district. That was another strong Republican district. Actually, some Democrat groups fought the redistricting because it broke up. You're not allowed to break up communities of similar nature. And Elko County was split. Pahrump was split in two. There were some minority areas or underserved areas that were divided up to help Democrat districts. Even some of their own Democrats were not happy with the last redistricting, but we did not have and that's right, Dina Titus. So we did try, but the lawsuit died in the process.
So 2 comments on that. It might be possible to talk to those disaffected Democrat districts to try to get motivation to retry. But I think there's a body of civil rights legislation that there's precedent that when you have majorities of a group that are not represented in the state legislature that the Supreme Court has looked at. So I would encourage you not to give up, though the other lawsuit didn't go. Let's go fight another day. Thank you very much.
I just got to say, we did actually try to get some of those Democrat groups to join us in the lawsuit, and they refused.
Don't forget the court of public opinion is always available when the official court system lets us down.
Patty is going to ask the last question, and then Liz will just clarify about her upcoming event, and we'll wrap it up.
Okay, I'm Patty Cafretta. When I was in the legislature in 1981, we had 1,000 bills. It never changes. It just keeps going on. And fortunately, you kill half of them, so it's a good thing. So my question is, what committees are you on?
So, yeah, that's an easy one. So I'm on, generally we're all on 3 committees. I'm on natural resources, government affairs, and education. The government affairs and natural resources are the same committees I was on last session, so that I'm a returning member to those, but I'm new to education.
And I sit on Ways and Means, the Money Committee, Revenue, and Commerce and Labor are my 3 committees.
Okay, this is pertinent to you and you guys. I'm offering you an opportunity to comment on this after I clarify some things. We are, the Nevada Women's Leadership Alliance is partnering with the Leadership Institute for this training. And the lady that is our guest instructor, her name is Holly Horn. She is a dynamo, a professional communicator, and a campaign expert. And her classes are always very memorable. You will learn performative speech. You will learn persuasive speech, how to lobby successfully so that you're memorable and that you gain respect and build trust. So I would really like to know how many people here are interested in that type of training. One of the things that we would like to make sure that you understand is the value of your personal branding and your personal political credibility, because it's all about relationships, and these guys can attest to that. And I'll give you guys a couple of comments, an opportunity to comment about why your relationships and how you present yourself is so important in persuasion. So anyway, if you don't have a flyer, please get one from me. The Leadership Institute is handling the RSVPs, so you have to register there. It's not on our website.
So I'll follow up on that just briefly, because I know everyone needs to get on to the rest of their day. Liz is correct. So when we have hearings on bills, which happen in committee, we accept testimony, either written or oral. The written can be as long as you want. The oral is limited to, I think, 3 minutes. So you only have a very brief time to get your point across, and how you present yourself and the words you use and how you speak makes a difference in how well your testimony is considered.
Why don't you introduce yourself? You.
Hi, I'm Tony Harsh, and I did come in late because I came from something distance. And just, I'm Tony Harsh. Came in late, and I just appreciate being here, and I've met some of you around, and I especially enjoy doing this man as many times as I can.
I paid her for that.
And former city council person, so served at the local level.
So with that, you can all talk and hang around. And in the future, I like that we just talked about that introduction and appreciate it. So that'll conclude the Red Move live stream and the podcast. So you met Ron briefly.
Yeah, nice guy.
Well, now
Question, the districts. Because I heard that I thought she charged all the they are not happy about it. So the idea that you can't get people who like Democrats or whatever, they're closer in terms of ethnic ties than they are. And we came to so I apologize that I ran. But I'm not doing anything. So when you're ready on lunch, let's do it. Or just continue to don't need to do laundry, sit down, take an hour.
Sometimes I have to go back and get it. No. This is great. It's kind of like the first time somebody took me to because it just hasn't been right. It hasn't. And I went and I was like, which is sort of like off the back in the proposal. So so you really are.
And she was.
No, I'm also
advocate your appointment.
I'm not
She sat for over a year and
But
a half
I literally got
impersonating a county commissioner, which is a gross misdemeanor.
Oh, yeah, I did a whole
I've been on
document.
request, 301 requests on every meeting she was in.
Okay,
to tell you
all right,
the truth.
74.
He said, we're not getting it.
How do you do that?
I told her I was making a documentary.
Well, the records are right.
It's about child support.
So I.
And I'm like super cute. No, I did not. It said, in the release, it said, is it enough? I did not.
You might like this.
And then I didn't leave a little bit, I didn't say about them. I let them say whatever they wanted to say, thinking they were listening.
The
So they looked at her, that is not my fault.
Standing someplace. So she, I called the sheriff and they didn't see her. Then she called the sheriff.
Because if they
And we
didn't
had
spend
to
it.
have to remove the sheriff outside of it.
Yeah.
They're looking at us.
Oh, I gotta go ahead and do it.
I was guilty. Go back to Chicago. Have the arrest, revisit and remove, which was out. Because 206. Rather than intimidate someone, and she went further. No, you're not gonna go on there. You're not gonna go.
Which she can't.
She did.
But she can't.
I know. I'm ready to.
Yeah, that's a, because. So you get a big dollar. And what I mean by that is,
And then they sell me everything. And then if you need to, then you can get your evidence.
That's the one in the book. It is.
Yes. Doesn't matter, it's all private contracts.
You need to bring this under control.
The state and federal government cannot be placed as private contracts. Because they are information financial because of contract. And that is all free to abide by.
This is a election.
Yeah, it's not elected. It's not placed. So he's doing this as a.
Yes. I'm just finding out places that the citizens get the better reward. What's unconstitutional?
Providing access to process.
So you're the block rider.
I guarantee you, there's always agreement, it's always based on the right contract, but it has nothing to do with electing judicial, incompetent person. Unless, this is how they get around. The version is just I think we have traditional law stuff. It's not how we
I don't know if it's tax, but I guess it's.
Great, because that perfect. Not work on people that you. So, also, we can have team members who are little bitty tiny little non-residents, can actually quickly open and ask questions and be like, but I like them.
So, the other thing that got me was first that we would be, the guy that's in charge of the EMS, but if we tell you that we have a serious illegal criminal I do not.
No, it's because your aura is aggressive and there's has behind and one camera exactly right now. You could very easily right. And curiosity, and you would get a 90% higher engagement. They have great license.
I changed, we all changed.
We all do, exactly. No, they don't. What I'm saying is, they all like, me personally, I'm still. Oh, I know, I just assumed it was. Period. Like, that's just how it was.
I don't remember.
But most people don't, so they get like, what, I didn't give you permission, I'm like,
I forgot. I mean,
they're like, right? Well, no, so when we're getting in there, court, people talk to, I'm like, I know, we'll take that. So, I mean, like, basically, so trying to find information frequently, the best way to do that is, charting.
Sometimes I use it, other times I use it. And try to solve the problem.
So.
Yeah, just give it a try. Yeah, it was fun, out in Reno.
Yes, and. Not actually go all the way back to where they're at, where their space is, and then meet them there, engage them, work with them, and walk them. And when you do that, I found that's along the way, that's the problem. Yes, you have that problem. Yes, you have. Get that, three yeses. I told her, yes, I'm not very good at discussion. She teaches speech, public, and it's fine, that's how you enroll sales. But it works for public. Always.
I spent many, many years.
Tell them about
the
courthouse.
Oh, the courthouse, yeah.
Because he was, basically, my thing is I tried. What happened is like, we could go through, and then basically start filming on the other side. No, it's not that, it's just, you are going to talk to one. I don't know why. I even went to his office. Yeah, but that was at the end. That was his, but
So how about you?
Well, that's why
I know even I get
political consultant. And so he called me up and said, Tony, I'm speaking on behalf of the governor. Governing
and then they say, it's awesome.
And then.
Okay, but you had an extra votes, and I kind of and then what I want to know is, of those people who voted, of the 2.1 million, how many voted before, and how many of those voted after? And also, cross-checking all of the addresses on that is really because, it's amazing when you have 5,000 people who are all registered to vote out of the casino. Generally speaking, those are probably not people. And then when you set the signature tolerance down,
I'm on my own.
it says Santa Claus, unless I'm Peter Pan that says okay, I'm not actually okay with that. So I think we need to go back to, we have 2 weeks ahead of time in person, and if you have a doctor's note and an excuse. But also, if you have a doctor's note that says you can't come and vote, I need a document certifying that you're actually cognitively aware enough to vote. Because the last thing we want is all of the people who work at the senior facility to vote for people.
But we need to know what our rights are, and that's why each of us need to really be aware of the Constitution, Bill of Rights.
That's why
Well,
you're building this application. So
maybe
it's
more
also-
importantly, or equally important, is that our government, our public.
I heard the DDR, and I tried to get PJ to push it, let my DDR down the rest of the help, simply this. In the state of Nevada, if a government employee is 6 months out of retirement, that is a sexual harassment, every 2 years thereafter, we might slap each other in the ass and sue, right? That's what state law says. And that's lawsuits. So
City council.
my DDR said retires right after that, and it says constitutional training.